Have you ever wondered why so many mods thank the Half-Life short stories team? Few people know about them today and the things they did for the Half-Life community, so here I am telling you about their work, specifically their mod Human Error. Human Error is the foundation of all Half-Life mods where you play as a Combine soldier, and it also tells a beautiful and also unfinished story of its own. We'll be going into the history of this mod and summarizing, analyzing and reviewing it, and finally get into why it's so great and important. Also, it's much appreciated if you consider subscribing. 95% of you haven't yet. I must admit, the installation is a little harder, due to having to install a couple of patches. Perhaps this shouldn't be the first Half-Life mod you ever installed. The description of this mod intros us into the story a bit. The mod seems to play only shortly after the death of the Nihilant. The portal storms have already happened and released a ton of Xenians onto Earth prior to the Combine occupation. The Xenians are trying to flee from the Combine once again. They seem to have found their way out of our world, buried beneath a university. Our goal is to stop this from happening, fighting alongside the Combine Empire. Also, in case you didn't know this about the Half-Life lore, canonically, the Nihilant and the Vortigons were previously attacked by the Combine, which is why the Nihilant has so much tech on it. Its species was killed off by the Combine. The Nihilants seen in Half-Life 1 managed to flee to Xen and become the new leader. The Vortigons were also fleeing from the Combine. After they also fled to Xen, they were enslaved by the Nihilant. The mod starts off with some unique new models, those of a car and a woman in a dress. The overexposed lighting signals that this is some kind of dream sequence, or a memory we hold dearly. We talk with this person who we seem to have some sort of relationship with. By the way, the voice acting in this mod is great. We proceed to take photos of her, which is actually a pretty cool sequence, I thought. Eventually she leans in and says that she wants to tell us something, to which some sort of explosion happens and gigantic rocks drop from the sky. This is supposedly a portal storm. We then get awoken by someone. We were sleeping in a bunk bed in some sort of Metrocop base. One thing that makes this mod really great is the new interactions you get to see. Like for example a Metrocop brushing his teeth. This actually involves a custom animation, toothbrush prop, character model, sound effect, and is also interruptible by talking to this person, who will continue brushing the teeth afterwards. This is quite the effort to pull off in a Souls mod, so this immediately impressed me. So much effort for what is approximately a 10-second moment. It's also here that we learn our name is Anders, accompanied by another Metrocop, her name being Eloise. We speak with another Metrocop called Noah over a monitor. Our base is Sector 1, and we are noticeably under attack. He tells us that there are more Vortigons than he is willing to count. The rebels are pushing forward to the university. In the intro we also saw a university, so it can only be assumed that it's that one they are pushing forward to. We are then tasked with restarting a generator, which we do in a pretty cool new mechanic that explains how the energy ball generators are set up. We have to put one of the AR2 alt-fire ammo into the machine, which will fill up the generator. I love little additions to the Half-Life like this in mods. In the same room there are also trapped stalkers. After we do manage to start up the generator, we see what can only be assumed to be our girlfriend again. It's a really uncomfortable cutscene, due to her always following us until she stands right in front of us. This is obviously a vision. She seems to hold a grudge against us, how we once would have felt guilty about what we're doing to the stalkers. She also remarks that she is dead, in case you were wondering. She further adds,
"Hey, I think that's your new for descending the staircase now. Try to keep hold of your yeah?"
Which is honestly pretty explicit writing for a Half-Life mod, but I'm all here for it. Eloise arrives and gets us to an APC. Our mission is to get to Noah, the guy on the monitor. I must note some great detail here as well. If you break this crate while she's talking to you, she will actually comment on it.
I'll tell him we've lost the university because you were smashing crates.
It's these small details that make a world immersive and actually add a ton to a Half-Life mod. We then start driving through the city we're in. Now, the main criticism I personally have with this mod is the level design in terms of aesthetics. I feel like a lot of this could have been improved drastically and it makes the mod look like a beginner Garry's Mod map at times. The custom sky texture is really beautiful though. I do like this sequence, as the APC driving is flawless. You may notice that it is almost the exact same as it is in Entropy 02. This is because Entropy 02 used the code from this APC in their mod. Here it is credited. We chase a tram filled with rebels and drive through the university. There are a couple of custom modders here that look awesome. Seriously, huge props to the team. We then meet up with Noah, who seems very unhappy that we were sent instead of Eloise, or anyone else for that matter. He also says that we should not turn the cameras to the walls again. He further adds,
"It doesn't impress her. I mean, anyone. It doesn't impress anyone at all."
So it seems to be widely known that we are trying to impress someone, supposedly Eloise, given the snarky remark our dead girlfriend gave us earlier as well. Noah shows us a recording from inside the university where we see an alien grunt. I must say, I don't think I've ever seen an alien grunt brought back in a Half-Life 2 mod. It's always either the Hound Eyes or Bolloxed, so this was pretty cool to see. Noah says that we will need to take care of the Xenians in the university. He notes how we will probably die down there. Yeah, he really doesn't seem to like us. We must first stop an incoming attack, which we do using turrets and some fellow Metrocops. This shootout is pretty fun generally, though I did crash multiple times here while playing, so be sure to save often. At one point, the generator gets hacked, which leads to us having to throw a prop into it, which Noah tells us will disable it. All combat shields go down. We are now a lot more defenseless, which was a cool twist. We also receive smoke grenades here, which are cool, though I couldn't see any use for them in combat. Once we're done, Noah decides to give everyone credit but us, specifically saying,
Good work. Everyone but Anders.
how much of a hater can you possibly be? We are then told to follow him using the APC. He continues to talk shit afterwards.
If you're alive. Oh!
He tells us that we will meet up with Eloise and him later. The drive there involves another tram chase, which was fun once again. We arrive at the university, to which Noah talks to us over the radio, which has a really cool HUD element. We learn that the university network is down and that we have to reactivate it. To do this, we have to fight the stalker. We also find new weapons here. We can also only have one pistol and one main weapon, so we are able to switch out the SMG for the shotgun and the pistol for the LX gun. The LX gun would be a cool feature if it wasn't for the fact that it is absolutely awful. I do recommend picking it up though, simply because by holding right click you can make this fun sound. This stimulates my brain in more ways than you could possibly imagine. We also find manhacks here, which were later reused in Trophy 01. The difference here being that we can control them. We also reuse something we learned earlier, the fact that generators can be disabled by throwing anything inside of them. This is some great gameplay that is staying true to the principles Half-Life 2 set up. In case you never noticed, Half-Life 2 likes to teach us mechanics and later uses them in different kinds of ways. The best example for this would be the gravity gun. You get told the very basics and then proceed to use that information for numerous things like killing enemies or solving puzzles. This is following that exact concept but with generators. Here is also the first time we meet alien grunts. We do eventually get to the Stalker and escort him to where we need him, which is also pretty fun. The Stalker turns into a traveling death beam. We connect with Noah and Eloise on the screen, who are happy to hear that we cleared the building of the Xenians that were plaguing it. Eloise points out that she's impressed. It was at this moment that I realized that Noah hates us so much because he hopes to get with Eloise, and sees that she likes us way more. He immediately starts to say that it isn't that impressive, and actually double checks using a camera if we actually survived. Which he gets really silent after realizing we did actually make it. Dropships now get sent to our location and we move to the roof. It's here that we encounter alien controllers for the first time. You know, Half-Life 1's most annoying enemy. I must say, they did look pretty cool and it's fun to see the attack remade in Half-Life 2. They also nailed the fact that they are incredibly annoying. I'm not sure if this is a glitch or not, but they jagger around really annoyingly. And they were also absolute bullet sponges, even when playing on normal. Once we do beat them, Eloise, Noah and this guy we saw brushing his teeth, whose name is Larson, come flying in. Before they arrive though, our girlfriend speaks to us again. She asks us if we remember the time we spent on this roof back in the day, and how we didn't have any friends. She gets interrupted by the landing dropship though. Eloise compliments us again, after which Noah begins playing down what we've done once again. He then proceeds to get absolutely embarrassed by her.
They're making a desperate stab for that rock in the center. We know what it is now too. It's a fragment from Zen, the border world.
We always knew that.
We did?
Yeah, we knew that.
I don't think we did.
A mysteriously shaped rock in the middle of a university, mined for rare amber crystals with teleportation properties, known by most to have been implicated in the Black Mesa incident. A very strict Combine policy on no Xenians, citizens referring to said mysteriously shaped rock as the rock from Zen.
I knew that.
No, you didn't, because you're an idiot.
Don't talk to me like that. I am your superior.
To which he says,
I love you, really.
Start dreaming.
this confirms our suspicion that Noah is kinda jealous of the attention that Louise is giving us. Also, alien controllers can run, which is really creepy. This next part is pretty annoying, because you have to escort all three of them while they try their absolute best to kill themselves. They for some reason try to melee attack both the grunts and controllers, which always ends in them dying. And since both the grunts and controllers require 2 double-barrel shotgun shots to the head, and there is a heap of enemies here, I cheated. I didn't. I totally did. It makes for a really hard fight, if you don't cheat. We then fend off while air defenses are restarting. The Xenian airships fly by and drop aliens like they did in Half-Life 1. This time we are able to destroy them though, which hinders them from spawning aliens. It's a little repetitive, but I like the premise. Once the defenses restart, we move forward and get into this pretty cool sequence where a van filled with burning explosive barrels comes driving at us. We fight against a horde of rebels. Also, perhaps worth noting, these rebels are equipped with molotovs, which they dynamically throw at you. I'm not sure how this was done at source, but what a great thing to add. Sometimes, the pathing of your fellow Metrocops is pretty annoying or just straight up broken. I found myself pushing around people or loading safes quite a bunch. We eventually arrive really close to the falling rocks we saw in the very intro. We fend off against a ton of Xenians once again while air defenses are starting up. I haven't mentioned it yet, but this mod does feature a couple of custom soundtracks that are incredibly great. After managing to start up the defenses once again in a pretty cool battle, Eloise wants to move even deeper into the Xenian cave that is hidden beneath the rocks, which we go ahead and do, to which we get caught in a portal storm. The entire squad, including us, get knocked out. We see our girlfriend moving towards us and we enter a flashback scene. It's a scene of us talking with our girlfriend about joining the civil protection. She seems not too fond of the decision, not even sad, just mad and disappointed. She asks how much time we have left, to which we immediately hear knocking on the door. The Metro cops enter the building. We take a last glimpse at her as the door gets closed in front of her. Multiple Metro cops still in her room. The end. But hold on for a second, as there is a lot more to come. No, there isn't. I forgot to tell you a few little details. Human Error released in 2010, and the full title is actually Human Error Episode 1. This mod never got finished and left off at this cliffhanger. Before we get into how the chances of an episode 2 of this mod stand, I'll quickly give you my review of this mod and what I think makes it so great, and why so many mods credit the team behind this mod. Story-wise, I think it's actually incredibly similar to Entropy Zero Uprising Episode 1. If you haven't heard about that one, be sure to check my video on that mod out after this video. Here's to hoping Uprising gets its episode 2 in the near future. The story is obviously very unfinished as of right now. The exact story behind those giant rocks and what exactly happened with our wife is unknown. I do like the time this mod plays in though. There are very few mods that take place shortly after the Comite's invasion began. There is one that comes to mind, but let's leave that one aside for now. The aspect of us having to take care of the remaining Xenians, given that there are none but the headcrabs left at the point of Half-Life 2, is awesome. What I really love is the characters of this mod. You see, one aspect that I think differentiates great mods from good mods is this tool right here, Face Poser. This tool was made in hell by the devil himself and is absolutely broken and basically unusable. You have to channel your inner Gandalf, recite 3 Shakespearean sonnets, and sacrifice your keyboard to even summon its interface. And don't get me started on the tutorials. They are written in a forgotten dialect of ancient Elfish, which you can only decipher after sipping a potion brewed out of the tears of the Source Engine modding community and Gaben Sweat. There actually are some usable tutorials by this guy, to be fair. But it's a hard tool to use and also requires you to recompile a certain scenes.image file, which is a really weird concept, having to recompile all scenes to just add one new one. This is needed though to make scenes where characters talk and gesture slightly, and I think it's these that make any mod great. One great example for this is the mod Silent Escape. Silent Escape is great in a lot of aspects, but I think wouldn't it have been for its many talking characters that also actually gesture and interact with each other, it would have been forgotten in the pile of good but not great mods there are, which is obviously fine, and I personally appreciate each mod that puts in any effort. But my advice for any mod maker is to try to get some talking characters in your mod, one with gestures specifically. The level design, as I've mentioned, isn't really that great, especially in the outside sections. It's just blocks of buildings. I like the university though. Especially the gameplay with the man-eggs was really fun. The mod also did a good job of getting the player to look up. In case you don't watch my videos frequently, you perhaps haven't heard this TED Talk of mine yet. If you are making any map, it's almost impossible to get the player to look up. If your puzzle involves the player looking up, then try to rethink it, or make it obvious multiple times that they have to look there. You'd be surprised how little playtesters look up, which is why it's never required to do in basically any game you will ever play. This mod did do a pretty good job though, I think. The new enemies weren't that great either really. They would have been fun if they had less HP, or a higher headshot multiplier. No enemy you plan on having more than one per level of should require 2 double-barrel headshots to kill on normal difficulty. In this case, both the grunts and alien controllers require it. The newly introduced weapon, the Alex gun, is unfortunately incredibly useless. The smoke grenades are cool, but up until now, not really needed. You're also able to charge your stun stick with suit charge, but that doesn't seem to do anything really. The smoke grenades are sadly also completely useless. I suspected they may be able to extinguish fire, but they can't. When really factoring in all aspects, this mod isn't really that good. It tells an interesting story, but that's basically everything. This mod definitely got heavily carried by 3 main factors. One being that the voice acting is pretty good and the custom scenes they made. The second one being that it takes place in a pretty unique time in the Half-Life universe timeline, right after the portal storms, and most importantly, the fact that this was the second mod ever made where you play as a Combine. Now, can I say that with 1000% certainty? No. Perhaps there is some mod out there that simply tells you that you are a Combine that happens to be older than this one, with the only change being that you fight rabbits instead of Combine soldiers. What I can say with certainty though is that this mod is the second one to really nail the feeling of being a Combine. Some of you may be saying that Combine Combat was the first one, and you would be right in saying that. For some reason I read the release date of Combine Combat to be in 2010. So let me actually remessage this video a bit. I'll surely be doing a video on Combine Combat someday as well, as it did some great things in terms of being a Combine soldier in mods. But there is no need for the two to compete, as both can coexist and both can be huge contributors to the Combine mod scene. So praise be to both, and credit where credit is due, Combine Combat was indeed the actual first one. Okay, so let's get back to Human Error. Human Error gets forgotten way too often these days. It worked so Entropy Zero could run. The code for the APC and the view model featuring the Metrocop arms are the main reason this mod is credited so often, to answer the question posed in the intro. So, how are the chances of episode 2 ever releasing? Well, for that, we'll have to very quickly talk about another release of the Half-Life Short Stories team. From Earth. It's a mod that is out right now on Steam, and I plan on making a video about it soon. This was the last release of the team, and it came out in 2013. In that same year, we got this statement talking about Human Error Episode 2. Basically, it says that an Episode 2 is very unlikely. They are having way more fun with the From Earth project, due to it not being bound by the Half-Life lore. They also want to make moves into the gaming industry instead of sticking with mods. They also first planned on posting some design iterations for the second episode of Human Error alongside the statement, though they decided against this and wanted to leave the story mostly open. I linked the full statement in the description though in case any of you want to read it for yourself. So yeah, as it seems, Episode 2 will never arrive. Perhaps one day in a lot of years, though I doubt some of the voice actors are going to return. What could Episode 2 have looked like? Well, the mod is called Human Error. Human error refers to the fact that humans make mistakes, whatever the reason may be. Stress, fear, carelessness and so forth. In the case of this mod in the Half-Life universe itself, this most likely refers to the fact that Metrocops are still mostly humans. Compared to the Combine soldiers, where they are merely machines with a brain, Metrocops are able to make mistakes. So far in the story though, this didn't really have any relevance. I think the human error factor of this mod story would have been explored further in Episode 2. If we did manage to get to the Zenian cave, I'd imagine something regarding to love being the human error that leads to dire consequences. Eloise would have become a more important character, which leads to internal conflict, since we still have visions of her presumably dead girlfriend, haunting and taunting us for joining the Combine and having interest in Eloise. There is also a chance that our girlfriend is still alive. We never fully saw her get killed. I think this is a lot less likely though. Let me know what you think an Episode 2 could have looked like. Those were my thoughts. So yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching.
Start dreaming.
I already do.
I dream. Do you want to hear my dream?
We don't even want to hear your breathing. Let's go.